So today we have our 54 Chevy, known as Smash. What we're working on is Frenching this headlight bucket and then adding onto the fender to put 55 Oldsmobile headlight rings on it. Finished product is going to look like this. So, as always, when you got two of something, you got to try it again, and you got to match it this time. The ways that I do that to help me out is when I'm first trying to figure out what I need to do, I Frenched in the headlight ring 1.25 inches because they look kind of, if you try to put the headlight ring on the where the existing headlight is, it turns out kind of looking bug-eyed, and this headlight ring just comes out really far. So I sunk this in 1.25 inches, positioned my headlight ring with the tabs that I got on here, and then I took a piece of painter paper, this guy, and I laid him down to my headlight ring, and I was able to figure out where this piece was going to go. After I did that, I flipped this piece of paper over, cut out the other side, and then after I got this piece on here, I made little templates to go underneath the light here, and I cut out those pieces. When I'm doing this, I'm at least starting off with two pieces that are the same, so when I go to try to replicate this side over here, at least I have an idea of what I started with. This is the little upper tab that I made to hold the headlight ring. It kind of positions like this off the stock one here, and then our new piece of sheet metal actually comes out to the end of that, just about the end of that, more like right there, and that's how we get the headlight ring mounted on. So I have my top piece, what I used to make this here. I have the two lower pieces, and I have the ring that goes underneath the light. Usually on a ring like a light like that, it would be awesome to not cut the center out yet, but I had to cut out the center just to position it to make sure that I was contouring the headlight bezel correctly. So unfortunately I had to cut out the center and make the ring, which does make a wobbly, hokey, shitty little piece, but I can position it and work it as I go to the contour of the light. This piece of strap that I cut out here is to French the bucket in. The way I'm going to start this, just like the other, is I took the plasma cutter and I went around this bucket. I'm leaving this bucket in and bolted down so it doesn't do so much of this waviness. If I was to just cut this ring out with out this piece in there, it wants to ripple and warp. So I'll leave this bucket bolted in as I cut it out and as I weld this piece on here. I also use the floor to keep this strap level, or if you had a flat tabletop, which I don't have, you could use that. I'm going to get the plasma cutter and cut out our ring here and French this bucket in first. So this is basically what you call a headlight conversion on these older cars. It'd be nice to have the chunk of Oldsmobile fender, but that's not as easy as maybe it once was. If you're doing something on a newer vehicle, you know, things are a lot different today with the plastics and the different, you know, usually they're mounted to more of a core support kind of deal. This was just built into the fenders these days. So we're just gonna try to kind of replicate that Oldsmobile look up here, which gives it a really neat look. It's really awesome. I love the sharpness of it. As we kind of go through here, we're actually lifting the top of the fender up about that much. The fender curves from the middle and tapers down, but I'm actually making it just go straight to the bezel. The other way you could do this modification, if you did want the fender to taper down like it was factory, is you could take this and lower it down. You might get in the way of the trim that goes down here on this particular vehicle, but some vehicles you'd get away with it by lowering the headlight. But I really like the sharp look. It has the look of more of like a 57 actually, where they started to flatten out the fenders a little bit and make everything a little sharper. Kind of like this 55 Mercury. It has a very flat fender on the top, and then it does have a headlight ring that's kind of like that, but it's actually painted, but it does the same thing. It comes out real crisp and lands back. So no time like the present to get into cutting. That's our ring. Now I'll cut this probably a little further back from here, and then finish putting it on. And then I'll weld it all the way solid all the way around. Alright, got our headlight ring all welded in, or our Frenchie. I think they call it Frenchie because of the tongue kiss. But anyways, got our Frenchie. Gonna grind down that weld a little bit, not a lot, because I want to leave a little bit on there. Not a necessary place to make it all pretty. It will help fitting it in there if it doesn't have that little edge there. So I'm gonna grind it down, make sure there's no pinhole leaks, like maybe there, and then sink her on in. Okay, now I got it tacked in there. Kind of see her, and you can still see that I've left the bucket bolted in. It's really helped keep it straight, and the floor helped keep that ring flat. As I was tacking and as I was welding, I let it cool on the floor there, held it down with my foot. Now we just got to give it a little rim job of weld. We're getting all kinds of sexual here. We got Frenching and rim jobs.
Oh my God!
When you're welding this thinner sheet metal, you're going to be doing it a tack at a time, and that's why if you've seen my welds and it looks all funky, it looks real shit, it's because you got to do this one tack at a time. You can't let it get too hot. If you were to run a straight bead on it, it's probably going to blow out or warp your metal, or both. It's hard to just sit here and just let it cool for a minute, you know. Mine's, you know, it's warm. I ran that tack of beads around there, and it's warm for sure, especially on this top part where the heat's rising. So what you're going to want to do while you're waiting is watch one of my YouTube episodes, or some of it, or like and subscribe while you're waiting for these things to cool. Alright, done with our rim job, cleaned it up, ground it down. Everybody's loving it. Now I'm going to put the headlight in and get our bezel located. Need to get my little tab welded on here, and I don't know, we'll figure it out. Okay, now I'm gonna kind of show you what we're dealing with. Kind of line it up at the top of the screen here so you can see how far I'm lifting the top of the fender. But you can see also it blends into the back there. That also kind of shows how much we're peaking this. Peaking, another custom term of bringing something out, of course. You could like peak a hood or something like that. Anyways, then the last one I put the mount on the bottom just to keep this steady while I was working on it. But then I just ended up cutting that mount off and putting a different one out on the ring that I'm going to put inside this. This lovely fellow here. So I'm going to start shaping that top piece, get it kind of fit in. On the last one I tried to build the top and roll this edge. I rolled the edge first and then built the top, and it was all fine, but the line ended up kind of going down here a little bit, and so I ended up having to cut it again and weld that seam, which is no big deal. I'm not expecting to get the whole curve and this line and everything all perfect on one try, but I am trying to do that and seeing if it works out. We'll kind of see how it goes here. Maybe I'll start the curve and then double check the line and maybe raise the line a little bit, try to avoid that cut, but we'll see. So something I wanted to show before we cover it up, the little bracket I made, the reason it had that little slot in there is because of that little mohawk that sticks out of the bezel. Helps align it and whatnot, made it a little bit more difficult to make the bracket, but that's kind of how it is. So you can see we're starting to get our shape here, starting to match up to our ring, but what I'm going to do is mark this where it's overlapping or underlapping and kind of grind it to shape a little bit more. Our tech screws help a lot. It is a hole that we have to weld up, but it's helping out fitment a lot. You can see on this piece I didn't even use the English wheel. I just used my sawhorse tube bender. Helps out a lot. Plus we got this fender, you know, when I screw this down it makes the metal something that you can work with and hammer on, and so that's helped me kind of hammer this to get our form a little bit better. And you can see it's pretty nice and tight. A lot of people will work these pieces a lot more than I do. I tend to work them on the vehicle a lot more. As I weld it on, I'll work the piece, and it tends to work out for me. I find it easier to work while it's on here. When I'm doing this front piece to get this to line up to the bezel right, you know, I can cut it and move this if I need to, or bring it out up and down while I'm welding it. Even if on the other side I had to make some relief cuts and recut it just to get the contour correct, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. What you can cut, you can weld. So, and what you weld, you can cut back apart. So I don't sweat the details, I guess, so much as some other people do. But we'll mark this out and cut the opening. I'm not overlapping these two pieces. I'm going to cut this piece out just like I did on the other side, which cuts a nice giant hole in our fender, and it's a little daunting, but as soon as we start tacking this piece on, all is better. I could easily throw a cat through there. Hello, wheel. So now, grind it down and start welding the piece in. These little guys, left from the plasma cutter, it's slag, so it has a little bit of air in it, like air pockets and stuff. So when you're welding, it can jack up your weld. I like to just clean those edges up a little bit, just get that slag off of there. I taped a piece of string on here and then stretch it across. You can see it's just touching our rings. So it's a good sign. That means that they're square to each other, and it really gives you shows you that it's square to the vehicle, you know. At least square to each other, and so probably square to the vehicle, unless we really went off, which I doubt. So I'm starting to do my ring. I have a gap here. You can see I'm filling the gap, but that's just to match it up to the headlight ring a little better. And this is a nice piece to use where you can adjust it. You know, it goes tighter and it goes bigger. And you can use that to kind of align it a little bit, you know. And you know, I'm just not afraid of gapping a little weld. It's not really hurting anything. You can worry about pinholes and stuff like that, but just pay attention. If there is pinholes, just weld them again. I'm gonna work on that and see if I can blend this nice. If it doesn't end up blending real nice, then I might do a cut and relief cut it and bring it in and out to just this height here, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm adding in the little lower pieces here, and this is our pieces that we copied from the other side, and it's looking pretty good. Did a little hammer work here, as you can see. I just wanted it to kind of roll a little nicer in here. Did the same on the other side. Still got a little work to do to finish it up, but it's getting there. Alright, got all our pieces together here, all ground down. Looking pretty good. The other side turned out better, but that's the beauty of having to do two pieces. One's always going to be better. And then I got a tuma here. Got to get rid of my tuma because I welded it in right there. See that little weld? And I ended up need to be a little closer than that, so I'm gonna have to cut this section out and redo that. But compared to this project, that's no big deal. So lower tab, that's some medicine, and cut this out, and should be good to go.